Hello everyone, thank you for taking part in the Alumni project. The purpose of this video is to prepare you for the training job you'll be aiming to pass as part of the requirements to move on to the production phase of the Alumni project. We'll go over how to access Dataforce, how to view and claim a job on Dataforce, how to work through the job, and finally, how to complete it. Note that on top of this video, you will also have access to detailed written guidelines and other project-specific training materials. Without further ado, let's get started. Before anything else, please let me point out the fact that this training video will be recording using Google Chrome and the incognito mode. The reason for that is to make it so that it's as close as a representation as what you would get on your end. By now, you should probably, or you're quite likely to already know how to access the Dataforce platform. However, I will still go over that step just to be safe. You will run the appropriate link to access the Dataforce platform. Upon loading the Dataforce platform, you will have to pick the cookies to be able to proceed. Note that we recommend enabling all the cookies because at one specific stage when you will actually be doing the training job, you may prefer having the cookies always enabled to ensure that some of your settings carry on properly. As such, we would recommend enabling all of them. So you can simply click accept all, select them accordingly. From there, simply log in with your credentials. And then you will land on this page. In the next section, I will show you how to actually navigate the Dataforce platform. Project, you want to be using Google Chrome on a computer. And you also want to make sure that when you're using Google Chrome, that you do not actually make use of the zoom in feature when you're in the transcription editor. You will see in later sections of the video what transcription editor I'm referring to. However, please make sure once again to not make use of the zoom in feature, as this may cause some issues, some compatibility issues or readability issues that you don't want to actually be experiencing. One last point to take note of is that you should be using your regular Google Chrome, so do not actually use a Google incognito window. The home page that we're currently on, the jobs page, the qualifications page, the FAQ page, and the support page. In the home page, you will be able to essentially see your available and in progress jobs, as well as any Dataforce related announcement that would be affecting the Dataforce community as a whole. In progress jobs would be jobs you've started but have yet to complete. In the jobs page, you will be able to access the jobs that are available to you within Dataforce. You can see a split between the jobs that are available, the jobs that would be in progress, meaning that you've started but not yet completed, and finally the jobs that are completed, meaning the jobs that you completed. This is in this section that you will actually be claiming a job. The qualifications page, this one will allow you to access any jobs relating to qualifications. In other words, this would be the test to be able to qualify for a given Dataforce project. In theory, if you're watching this video, this should mean that you already gone through a test, so you've actually already accessed this qualifications page, and you should be familiar with how that works. But similarly, like the jobs page, you can see a split between the available, in progress, completed qualification jobs / tests. Please note that at this stage, you won't need to use the qualifications page anymore. In the FAQ page, you can essentially access basic general Q&As. Please note that project will most often have specific guidelines that may differ from basic information you may find in those FAQs, and as such, they will typically take precedence. In the case of alumni, this is also true. This means that the guidelines specific to the alumni project will take precedence over any basic information you may find in those FAQs. And finally, you have the support page, which is essentially a page for general feedback and questions relating to the Dataforce platform. But once again, the alumni project specific guidelines would take precedence over any basic information you may find in the FAQs. Last but not least, if you experience any Dataforce related issues as part of the alumni project, please contact your applicable project lead so they can inform the alumni's delivery team and get you the help you need. To claim your training job, you will be able to do so from the jobs page. From there, you can see a list of available jobs. You can see I have 2 jobs in my specific example here. One has already been claimed, and when you do not see the button, it means that it's either been completed or it's showing under your in progress jobs. And you also have here a job that you can actually claim. Depending on whether you worked on previous projects in Dataforce before, you may prefer using keywords in the search bar to find jobs pertaining specifically to the alumni project. Here, since I only have 2 examples, nothing really new will change, but that would essentially filter out the project specific to the keywords you've entered there. Please note that for the alumni project and what you would actually see on your end at this stage, you are expecting to only see and be able to claim 1 training job that would have dimension phase 1. And only if you fail this job are you then expected to gain access to a second training job that would have dimension phase 2. To actually claim a job is as simple as clicking the claim button. From there, you have this pop-up that will essentially give you 3 options. You can either cancel what you've just done, or you can claim the job, or you can actually claim and open the job. Typically, you should click on the claim and open. For the sake of this training, however, I will only show you how to claim the job. So assume I've actually clicked on the claim job. Once you do that, this will put the job in your in progress jobs. You can see the job that I've already claimed, which would be this one, the phase 1 job. From there, you have the option to open the job. To do so, you have the button open here. You can also do this small arrow there. If you click on this, you can see you have an option to complete all tasks. Please do not ever use this option because you should always be opening a job to complete whatever task you would have to complete within the job. So when you want to actually open a job, click on open. From there, you'll see that the job will actually be loading. And it will load on a page where you may be requested to fill out the multi-factor authentication. Then you will essentially be requested for a code. You can remember this browser so you don't have to do this every single time. In your personal email address, you'll be able to essentially access the code, use the code accordingly, and should be granted access. And this will then open the job. This is the view of the transcription editor you'll be using on the alumni project. You want to start by adjusting the line segmentation of the content you will be reviewing. To adjust the line segmentation, simply head over here and select the 9 lines per subtitle option to ensure you have less scrolling happening within a segment. The reason why you're enabling this option is due to the fact that during the production phase, the audio file should be segmented per speaker turns automatically through the ASR system, ASR being short for automatic speech recognition. This will mean that we need to ensure that all the speech from one speaker is kept in the same segment. So if there's only one speaker in an audio, there should only be one segment. So please make sure you enable this option, as it will be easier to scroll through for readability purposes. To edit the segment, click into it, and you're then able to scroll through the transcribed content and move the selector as needed. The segment is highlighted in yellow, as you can see, when you're actually able to edit it. This is how you'll make all the necessary edits to ensure the speech matches what is said in the speaker turn in the audio, following the conventions from the Alumni Project's guidelines. To insert a subtitle or segment, in the audio reader right here, go to the section where you wish to add a segment. Let's say this section, for instance. You can see here that it has highlighted the actual segment that fits. Then from there, use this button right here. Upon clicking on it, you'll see you have two options, either to insert the subtitle at the current time, to insert the subtitle before, or to insert the subtitle after. You can consider subtitle to also mean segment in this case. The most common option that is expected to be used would be the current time one. However, you're free to use the one that best applies for a specific scenario. Let's use this one just to demonstrate what would happen. You can see now that a new segment has been created at the time we had previously selected. You can select the speaker as well accordingly, but I will show you specifically how to add or edit a speaker in the next video. You are able to move segments so it fits the speaker's waveforms. We expect there should be a limited need for this project, as the ASR system should split speaker segments mostly correctly. That being said, you can edit the time that a segment starts and ends to improve the quality and readability of the segment. To do so, you can edit the time in and time out of a subtitle or segment directly in the waveform that is displayed at the bottom here. Then, click on the lock icon right here to be able to unlock the waveform for editing. And in the confirmation dialog here, simply click Unlock. From there, to edit the segment time in and the segment time out, select the waveform for a segment. So let's say the segment 1 here, which is this one. You can simply drag here from the left as an example, and you can see the time here has changed. You could also drag, for instance, this one and assume that you want this section to actually be the one that is captured for the segment, and again you can see that the time has changed once again. On top of that, you can also use the mouse scroll to be able to just scroll through the waveform. You can see the video is being updated accordingly. And you can also zoom in or zoom out the waveform using Control plus the mouse wheel, as you can see. However, please be wary of using this feature to not affect the zoom feature of Chrome itself, since as a friendly reminder, you must keep the zoom to 100% to avoid any compatibility issues with the transcription editor workflow. Finally, to stop editing the times of a segment and to be able to lock the waveform again, simply click on the lock. And as you can see, when it shows like this, it simply means that it's actually locked. You can technically add or delete characters which act as speakers in segments. You can do so through this interface down here. Then you can simply click Add, and you'll get this pop-up window where you can enter one or more speakers. Let's say, for instance, that I add 2 speakers at once. I'd do it like so. Then simply click Add, and you can see that the speakers have been added right here. From there, you're able to assign a given speaker to a segment in 2 ways. The first method would be simply, let's say for segment 4 here, I can click the speaker and select a new one. This will also be updated through the color scheme in the waveform itself. You can see the color has adjusted. Another way would be to select the segment again and simply click on this button here. And then let's say speaker 3 for instance, and you can see it got updated. Now let's say you wish to remove a speaker. Note that it will not work if the speaker is selected or used in an existing segment. For instance, you see segment 3 here with speaker 2. Let's say I want to delete speaker 2. I get that pop-up, click delete, and you see that I'll get the speaker is using caption, so preventing the actual deletion. However, please also note that some tasks you go through may not allow you to delete the speaker, even if it's not actually being used in a caption. As an example here, we can see we have 5 segments, speaker 0, 6, 2, 3, and 0. So we could, for instance, try to delete speaker 5 since it's not being used in a given segment. But you can see that it still didn't actually register the deletion request. So once again, in some cases, it will not actually be processed. As such, the key action that's most important is always ensuring that the segments themselves have the right amount of speakers assigned. If the characters list may show more speakers to pick from, it's always the actual assigned speakers that you want to make sure to be correct. One last important point is that you should not change the format of the existing speaker tags. If you need to add a new speaker, follow the default format already pre-filled by the ASR system when you first claim the job. Now I'll show you how to make use of the quality check feature. The quality check panel down here allows user to validate the segment content, then generates a report. The quality check report lists the segment errors based on different quality control rules. Before you start using the feature, you want to make sure to set up specific quality control rules. To do that, you want to click on this icon, and then you want to disable the following quality control rules. Under content, you want to disable reading speed and glossary compliance. Under punctuation, you want to remove punctuation check and space before punctuation. Under timecodes, you want to remove duration, shot changes, and frames between subtitles. This leaves you with all the different quality control rules you want to actually keep, which would be characters per line, maximum lines, empty subtitle, single line fit, multiple spaces, subtitles, overlap, and character assignment. Then hit save, and the rules will be updated accordingly. Once you've unclicked the unnecessary checks and only make use of the checks that we've listed, the next task you will open in this tool should have the same setting carried over, provided you've enabled all cookies when signing in. Otherwise, you may have to remove the unnecessary quality checks every time your new task is open, meaning you'd have to redo the setting up here in this interface every single time. That being said, once you've actually set up the quality checks as we've just done, you can run it by hitting the play button. Depending on the results, this will generate a list of segment errors you can click on to review accordingly. In this case, you can see, for instance, that 2 different segments have been highlighted with potential errors to review. For each segment that is flagged as a potential error, you can choose to hit the inner button to disregard this highlight, considering that it may be incorrect, or you could actually make the correction accordingly by just going into the given segment and make the correction accordingly. Depending on the error type that may show, you may be able to also have a button that is called ignore. When you click on the ignore button, the errors will then fall under the false positives. For the sake of just showing you how that would work, imagine I enable more quality control rules. You can see like a bunch of different quality control rules here, where imagine I say ignore that the reading speed here is too high. Clicking on that, there's a new section here that's called ignored issues, and you can see under false positives the given error that you considered was a false positive. Now let me just go back to actually highlighting the ones we care about. Once you've gone through the list, you can rerun the quality check to see if no legitimate errors may come up anymore. So you can see here rerunning it is still saying there's one because I simply haven't reviewed it and I haven't made any changes to it. Last but not least, please note that this quality check feature does not replace your own actions. It's merely there to possibly help point out mistakes that you may have overlooked when doing your own review following the Olive Knight project specific guidelines. To access the keyboard shortcuts, simply head up here and select this option. You'll get this pop-up. From there, you can search the keyboards per section. Let's say, for instance, that I wanted to look up all the shortcuts that may be related to subtitles or segments. You can get a given list. Now, let's say you want to set up customized shortcuts. You are able to do this by simply clicking. Let's say I want to update the daily subtitle one here. You can simply click here, and then you can enter the new binding you want actually to set up. Once you have typed it in, you are able to just click the save button. Lastly, we want to highlight two specific shortcuts which are the most common ones that you may find useful. The split sub at cursor, so this one is useful when you want to split content within a given segment, while this one is useful when you want to merge the next segment with the current segment together. For example, if the speech from the same speaker has been split into two segments, you will use this merge shortcut to ensure that there is one turn per speaker. Before showing you how to complete a task, please make sure that when you decide to complete a task, you feel like you have completed your full review of the task, as once the Dataforce job is completed, you will not be able to access it again. The completed job will then be sent for review to the quality assurance team, who will be in charge of determining the actual grade you will receive for the task. As a reminder, for the training job specifically, if you failed the first training job, you'll have a second chance with a second training job. If you pass the second training job, or the first training job on your first attempt, you'll be able to move on to the production phase of the project. Whereas if you fail, you will no longer be able to take part in the Olive Knight project. That being said, to complete a task once you're done with your review, click the button up here. You get a final confirmation pop-up, and once you feel like you're confident to proceed, hit complete task. From there, as you can see, you get a pop-up saying that the task has been completed and the job is completed, so you can simply close the window. From there, you can see that in Dataforce, the job is still shown as in progress, but if I refresh the page and go under completed jobs, you can see the job in question is now showing under completed. This concludes this training video. Thank you for watching.